Hello, I hope that you are well. Today is February the 6th, I believe, which is a Tuesday. I was very proactive with working ahead on next week's assignment because it requires to do an interview, which helped set me up for success to be ahead on this week's assignment. I crafted the interview questions for next week, and sent the requirements for my interview to be checked off by my professor yesterday. This week we'll be focusing on structuring the interview and one other topic. Another thing that I wanted to try different than I've done last week is maybe include something within the news that I kind of digest from a student perspective. The State of the Union is about to happen in a few minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Not a political response, but just questions to invoke additional thought, or I will ask questions to invoke additional thought. And from the perspective of the things that I've been studying about business and society, global leadership in organizations, and some other classes that I foresee coming. I am in week 9 of 10. After next week, which will be week 10, I'll have a 2-week break. So far, the class that I'm in about leadership global leadership has been, again, very eye-opening, and I look forward to the interview that I have next week with my organizational leader of choice, to just checking to see if it was on or not, but looking forward to that interview because it will help me make sure that I'm really grasping what I'm being taught academically, and also see what happens at a certain level within a company when these things that I'm learning academically are applied, if they're even applied. One aha moment that I had last week was, again, how global change especially, is this multi-step, multi-layer process. But in my experience in being a frontline employee and being a frontline manager and being an individual contributor, changes do not unfold that way. In fact, it's more so of an announcement, a communication, and this is our new reality, and this is how it goes. There's really no well laid out process or specific roles that people are playing to ensure that the change is successful. So that's the lens or the curiosity that I'll have in seeing what I'm learning academically and how it applies in the real world, based on the interview that I'm having this Thursday for next week's assignment. So stay tuned, and we're trucking along. Hello, I hope that you are doing well. Today is Saturday, February the 11th. I have a discussion board and no, a paper, not a discussion board, and a outline of an interview requirement due this week. Our topics are focusing on the virtue matrix and a chapter in the book. What I'm taking from the virtue matrix is how companies can make a choice or comply with regulations regarding things that make society as a whole better. In other words, strategic choice would mean I, as a company, and or companies who work together, make a proactive choice to address an issue. An example that was given in the book was a company that had burned down and got an insurance settlement. The owner of the company decided to retire and pay the employees who were out of work because of the fire. That would be strategic choice. Structural compliance, which is the other option, is I'm just going to do the bare basics of what's required of me because there are regulations put in place. And the article that we received talked about the benefits of making those choices and how stakeholders and shareholders benefit from that. So think of the race to green energy and how companies are making decisions to go, I believe it's called net neutral, regarding emissions and greenhouse. There are companies that make the choice to do it proactively, strategically, and then there are the companies that say, oh, well, the government's making me do it, so I'm just going to do it and do the bare minimum. From my perspective, obviously the strategic choice, Frontier is the best option because it shows society, it shows shareholders the positive intention and good virtues, that management of the company have, which could translate to a competitive advantage, right? Let's say that a company is proactive 10 years before it's required of doing something. When it becomes required, they would have 10 years of practice where other companies are just doing the bare minimum to stay out of trouble. So when I get done walking, I'll probably meditate, read through the chapter, start on my assignment. I've already sent my interview questions to the person that I'll be interviewing, and they're already aware of what to expect. So this week should be pretty good. I'm trying not to put myself in the sun. I hope that you are doing well. There is a continual growth trajectory in terms of my competency in this class of leadership in global organizations. I am always looking for ways to add value to my current role with my employer, with good intention, obviously. And everything seems to be working out well. I can't wait for this 2-week, not vacation, but 2-week break that's coming up. Each class is 10 weeks long, and then we get 2-week breaks in between it. Unless it's like Christmas break or Thanksgiving break, then it becomes a little bit longer, but can't wait for it. Did you later on? I just got in from my walk, and the thought hit me that the State of the Union just happened, and I was reflecting on it from the lens of a student, specifically a doctoral student in a class about leadership in global organizations, as an employee, as a consumer. One example of the things that the president talked about was getting rid of fees, like hidden fees. As a consumer, tell me what the price is, don't add on extra fees. Like I don't want to have to say, okay, I'm making a conscious decision to buy a ticket or a product or service for this amount, but then when I go to checkout, knowing that taxes are going to be involved, I have to now consider processing fees or service fees or whatever fees in addition to that. So as a consumer, I would love for those fees to go away. Just tell me what the price is up front, right? Especially when I can't see how the fee adds value to the exchange of my money and the product or service. As a former frontline employee and former frontline manager, what do those conversations sound like between the customer, who now will have a price increase because the company needs to make money, a price increase in the products or services that they've been having for however long? What does that conversation sound like? As a frontline employee telling a customer that your price is going to go up, that is a difficult conversation. And it is difficult for frontline managers who may have limited resources or development and coaching themselves to then turn around and develop the frontline employee to have those difficult conversations with employees. So as a consumer, I'm all for it. But then again, as an employee who knows that the company will make decisions that will keep it in alignment with the guidance that it's given its shareholders and stakeholders on Wall Street, it's going to have to make decisions to stay in alignment with that, right? And frontline employees, frontline managers are the face of the company. As a doctoral student in leadership in global organizations, what structures or systems or mechanisms are put in place that identify and or develop leaders to see changes like regulations or laws that are put in place to eliminate fees or eliminate this or put in place compliance. What do the systems, the structures, and mechanisms do to identify the right people that can make those decisions or be developed to make those decisions? I imagine that when somebody is hired as an executive leader 10 years ago, they weren't thinking about how, solar energy or clean energy may have an impact on what they do on cruise lines, right? Or food or whatever. So knowing that, how do companies set themselves up for success to ensure that they satisfy their internal and external stakeholders, their shareholders, and they remain in a position where they can compete and they can stay relevant, right? And still be a value add to society. So just a reaction from the State of the Union, which I thought was, important to watch just as an engaged citizen, regardless of political affiliation. I am on my way to the gym. This is my recap video for this week. Very interesting to learn about virtue matrix and how companies who participate in corporate social responsibility initiatives can be strategic and being proactive and seeing that as a source of innovation, or they can be in compliance or structural because of the regulations or laws that have been put in place by government. In my example or paper, I used a Scandinavian company who is using renewable energy for its new models of shipping vessels as a result of the pharmaceutical industry having 95% or 85% of its emissions in its supply chain. So in other words, as materials are being shipped from place to place, there's a lot of things that are happening not in favor of our planet. So being strategic, a Scandinavian shipping company is planning to secure money. Well, they've already secured $9 million, but secure more capital in order to create solar-powered shipping containers. So with that in mind, what can companies do going forward to remain proactive and strategic? And the latter part was just the outline for my interview for next week. So all is well. Check in with you later.